Hello everyone, I'm Nick Harrison with Leather and Wood. Today I'm going to be making a router flattening sled, a flattening jig. I'm going to show you how I do it. Stick around. The first thing I do is find this scrap sheet of melamine that I have in my shop and just get some dimensions of the length. I then cut down some 2x4s over at the miter saw to be the exact length dimensions of that scrap sheet of melamine. The reason I use melamine is simply because it was left over and it is flat. The biggest thing on this router sled is you do want it to be completely flat. After I cut down the 2x4s, I head over to the joiner to get a perfectly flat surface on the bottom so that they can sit perfectly to the melamine. Checking it with a level here just to confirm that it is indeed flat. After one side's flat, I reference that on my table saw fence and clean up the other side. The 2x4 rails then work their way onto the sheet of melamine, and then I begin applying glue on the bottom of the 2x4 rails and clamping them down to the edges of the melamine surface. You do want to make sure that these are 100% flush and square to the edges. That's very important so that the router sled itself can slide correctly when we get to that step. After they're glued and clamped down, I drive some screws in from the bottom just to secure that completely in place, and also allows me to remove the clamps. The screws help hold it in place while the glue dries. I then begin assembling the sled itself. I use a piece of 3/4 inch solid red oak here. You do want to use some sort of hardwood or something that's not going to flex in the middle. I just use 2x4 blocks on the ends here, again gluing them down and then driving some screws in to securely hold it in place. This is going to reference on the 2x4 rails. After one side of the 2x4 blocks installed, I just lay out for the other side, draw a reference line so that I know exactly what kind of length to cut the red oak piece of material. After it's cut, I glue the other 2x4 block in, again making sure that everything is flush and square so that it will slide smoothly once the sled is complete. Next thing I do is to glue on the rails of the sled itself. The width of this sled is going to be 100% contingent upon what size router you have. So I laid out the size of my router, glued in these rails and screwed them in from the bottom again. This will hold the router in the center of the sled itself. It'll basically make like a little trough or a tray for that router to slide in. Once I get one side done, I repeat the process on the other side, ensuring that my router has enough room to slide in between the rails there. Next thing I do is use a plunge router with a groove cutting bit to go through that 3/4 inch material. This bit's eventually going to stick all the way down through there onto the slab that you're trying to flatten anyway, so I do need to make an opening for that bit to slide through. And for this, I just plunge down a little bit at a time. I don't try to make the whole cut at once. After the cut's made, I apply some paste wax to everything that's going to have wood rubbing against wood. So the sled versus the rails, or I'm sorry, the sled against the rails, you know, different parts of the sled, the rails themselves. I just want everything to have a slick surface so that it can slide smoothly. Here you can see how smooth it does slide. So that's a quick and relatively easy router sled flattening jig that you can make. Obviously I've made one in the past. I have a video on that. If you want to watch that video, that one's made a little bit different. So if you want to watch that video, click up here to do so. But I think this one's a little bit better just because it doesn't flex as much, and the base of this one is completely flat with that melamine. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you found value in that video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find this project and more on my website at www.leatherandwoodusa.com. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at leatherandwoodusa. I'm Nick Harrison. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, I have more videos right over here that I think you'll enjoy.